Hey everyone, it's Candace here with FoodRight in the Garden. Today we're going to talk about the herbal tea that we picked. Now we're going to process it. So let's pretend that 2 weeks have passed since we picked the herbal tea. I hung up these tea leaves to dry in my house. Ideally you'd want to hang them up either in a cool, dark place, or you could hang up your herbal tea upside down in a paper bag in your house somewhere. Give it 2 or 3 weeks to dry until the leaves are crispy. And then once they're crispy, you can hear the crinkliness. That's when you'd want to go ahead and process them to put away for herbal tea later in the season. So I think this is a super fun project, and to be honest, this is my first time ever doing it. I'm really excited because, first of all, herbs are very easy to grow. I think if anyone were to grow any sort of edible garden and they're not sure where to start, like maybe I'll grow some tomatoes, maybe I'll grow some peppers, or maybe some herbs. I think herbs are the best and most productive and easiest intro into gardening for anyone because they're very easy to plant and take care of, and you can keep harvesting them all summer long and into the fall. And in this case, you can even dry them for later and enjoy them throughout the cold winter months here in Wisconsin. For these, some of them I started from seeds, and some of them I bought as starts. So it's really not a whole big of a cost investment, but I can get a lot out of them because herbs and things that you harvest the leaves from, it's not like tomatoes or eggplant or peppers where you have to wait for the fruit to ripen, and sometimes it can take most of the season. You get to use the leaves once they're ready and once the plant is established, and oftentimes if the plant is very healthy, it'll continue to shoot out new leaves so that you can harvest more and either use these herbs fresh in your cooking or in fresh tea, or you can dry them for dried tea later. And I think it's going to be so awesome in the depths of winter when it's so dark out by like 4 p.m. It's cold and it's snowy, and I might be able to just whip out a jar of herbal tea that I made from herbs in my garden to enjoy, and I think it's going to be something that's really special. So today we're going to take the herbs that I harvested from my backyard garden. I harvested a few different things, and we'll talk about what they are. I'm going to make just a couple different types of tea blends, and then I'm going to put them in these little reusable containers. These are just reused from other projects I had around my house. I cleaned them and I'm going to reuse them, and I'm going to give one away to my coworker, the person behind the camera, Mary Kate. So let me show you what I have. I have lemongrass, which is a lemony flavor. And just as a reminder, I also have hyssop, which is like a licorice type flavor. It's an herb. It's also an edible flower that the bees love. Right here I have some marigold. I'm not going to use the leaves. They can be bitter, but I'm going to use the flower petals. They're really dried up and small now, but they do have like a little bit of a lemony flavor. It's a specific variety of marigold that has that flavor. Not all marigold taste the same. Here I have a bundle of different types of mint that I'm going to use to flavor some tea with mint. And my favorite and most exciting ingredient is some stevia leaves. I've never grown stevia before, but Mary Kate and I, my coworker behind the camera, tried them for the first time today. It's so sweet. It tastes just like stevia sweetener you'd buy at the grocery store. So in case you didn't know, stevia is an herb. It's a plant, and it has no calories, but it gives tons of sweetness. So unlike sugar, it's not going to have calories in it. It's just a great addition to an herbal tea to give that sweetness that would make it so delicious and complement any of these flavors well. And I harvested these herbs, like I said, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and they've been drying in my house. They're nice and crispy. The plants have already rebounded and recovered and grown all this foliage back, so I can keep harvesting more and more herbs for herbal tea if I would like. You can harvest as much as you want. You could do like a big harvest and make tons of herbal tea, or just a little bit amount like this, like I did. I think I'm going to do 2 different blends. I think I'm going to do one blend with just simple mint and stevia, and the other blend to have stevia, the hyssop, which is the licorice flavor, and the lemongrass. I think it'll be nice to have one really simple tea and one tea that's a little more complex in flavor. So all you have to do is, after you dry it and after it's crispy, you're going to want to take the leaves off the stem, because the stem doesn't have the flavor, just the leaves do. And we'll just take the leaves off the stem, put it in the bowl, or if you're using like a cookie sheet or some kind of pan to keep it all in one place. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. This is a good project for the whole family. Anyone can do it. It's pretty fun. Doesn't take too long. Sometimes it's easier if you hold the stem upside down and strip the leaves backwards. That's a little trick for herbs if you're in a hurry and don't want to take them off individually. Sometimes it's easier to remove them that way. So see here, I have it upside down. The leaves come off pretty easily if you go backwards on the stem. Oh, I can smell the mint. Can you smell the mint? It smells good.
It smells amazing.
This is actually 3 different types of mint. Went a little overboard and bought different types of mint at the store.
What are the different types?
I don't remember. I feel bad about it. I have, I think, a strawberry mint, a spearmint maybe, a mojito mint, maybe a peppermint. There's so many different varieties of mint. It's amazing. I do have to be careful when I plant mint. If you've never grown mint before, it'll take over your garden. If you put it in a big garden bed, it'll come back and it'll kind of like start to take over. So I always grow mint in a container so that it doesn't do that. It can be a little bit of a bully. It sends out underground runners. Yeah, and they'll just like take over the whole garden bed. So we're doing good on the mint, almost done. And once you have all the leaves stripped, which I almost do, you're just gonna want to crush it with your fingers and, you know, make sure your hands are washed, of course. Make sure everything you're using is clean. And I'm gonna put a little stevia. A little goes a long way, I think, because it was pretty sweet. We just had a little bit of a stevia leaf and it was sweet, and I like that. I want a sweet type tea. So I just put 2 stevia leaves in here because this is not a whole lot of tea. And you just take a little higher. You just take your fingers, you crunch it up until it's pulverized. And yeah, this is a fun sensory task for if you have any little ones, any little friends or family members, because it involves touch and sight and smell, and it also is helping people identify what's an herbal and edible plant, and also what does it smell like, what does it look like. It's a lesson in plant identification. It's a lesson in culinary adventures. It's just so fun. It doesn't have to be like perfect. You just want to get it a little bit pulverized so that we can get the most flavor out of the tea cup. I missed a couple of leaves. All right, and we actually have some warm water here, so I think I'm gonna let this mint and stevia herb steep while I make the other tea blend, and we'll give it a taste. I would say for tea for full flavor, you might want to just use like a spoonful. Thanks so much. Doesn't have to be exact, but I would say a spoonful is pretty good, or like a tablespoon. This water is not boiling, it's warm, it's hot, not boiling, so I'd probably get a little more flavor if it were boiling, but it should work. Clean up my station here. Okay, so now we're gonna do the little more complicated herbal tea blend of these edible flowers. I'm just gonna take the flowers off the stem. The stem does not have flavor, but the little flower petals do. This is something I grew from seed. The seed company sent me the wrong seed, so I couldn't tell you what variety of marigold it is because what I purchased is not what grew. But I think it's like a lemon flavored type marigold. Really easy to grow from seed. It got really big. It's really happy, putting up lots of blooms. I love how orange and yellow it is. I think I'll grow this type of marigold every year. I even gave some to my friends and it's growing at their house. I'm pleased with it. But for here, it's just a little bit of a hint of lemon, which we're gonna have 2 sources of a lemon flavor. So this tea, I actually might be able to call it like a lemon type tea because we have lemongrass and this lemony flavored marigold going into it. That's enough of that. Next, we're going to do the lemongrass. Now, lemongrass is a little bit trickier. I don't think we can just pulverize it with our finger because, as you can see, it's not really like, it's a little trickier. So I think I'm going to kind of roll it up in my fingers, tie like a little knot around it so that we have like a bow almost, and then use some clean scissors.
Very good.
Thank you. And just cut them into small little pieces. The whole lemongrass is edible, so like the blade of the grass, because it is a grass, and the bottom of the grass, the little white part, you just wouldn't want to like eat the roots, I don't think. First of all, it'd be pretty dirty. It would be clean. It would be hard to clean, and secondly, you really want the flavor in the blade of the grass up. Whatever is above the soil is edible, and it's pretty. It smells kind of like cleaning product almost, but not in a bad way. But because of that, I don't think. Well, no, I'll use the whole thing. We'll use the whole thing. Make a batch of lemongrass tea. And while we're doing this, some other tea blends you could make, or some other plants you could purchase in the springtime to grow throughout the summer in your herb tea garden. Chamomile is a common one. You would just harvest the chamomile flowers and you just pluck the flower right off, and it keeps putting out more chamomile flowers. So the more chamomile you harvest, the more you'll get. You could dry those up, make sure they're completely dry before you store them away, otherwise they'll grow mold. But chamomile is a good one. Lemon verbena is a good one. Lemon balm is a good one. You could also grow tarragon or other culinary type herbs. And if you really like that type of herb, just dry it for tea. Kind of experiment with different tea blends. If you have any good tea blend ideas, like comment below, let us know. Some other herbal tea ingredients you could include that aren't necessarily something you'd grow in a garden here in Wisconsin in Zone 5B, Milwaukee, but you could definitely get from the store and add to give it more flavor are things like dried citrus peel. Would add a really nice fall or winter flavor to your tea. Cinnamon, cloves, even cardamom or fennel seeds if you want to make some kind of like Indian flavored, like chai type tea blend. All good ideas. Oh, ginger, some dried ginger. That could make a good addition to an herbal tea blend. So you could harvest, if you just want to plant a few herbs in your garden, not take up the whole garden, but just a few, and then supplement it with extra ingredients, I think that would be a fabulous idea. And I am excited to experiment in future years. Plus, a lot of herbs go to flower, and I don't know if you guys are all friends of pollinators, but I certainly am. And I think it's awesome that the bees and the butterflies and all the other pollinators dig the flowers that a lot of these herbs eventually put out. Okay, so we got the lemongrass cut up. I'm going to use the rest of this stevia plant. And this hyssop, we're going to do the same thing we did before, where we go from the top down to strip it easily off the leaf, or off the stem. Strip the stems off the leaves. Pretty therapeutic to do this. It smells so good. I would say if you're a fan of licorice, you would be a fan of this hyssop, this anise hyssop plant. I don't know if you say anise hyssop or anise hyssop.
I would say, well, for like star anise, I always call it anise, but it's definitely like anise, yeah. Anise hyssop, anise.
If you know, if anyone knows, please comment. This anise or hyssop plant, I grew it from seed 2 years ago and put it in my garden, and I've never had to grow it from seed again. It comes back every year. I think it must drop seeds, and then it just shoots back up in the spring. It's so great because I don't have to fuss about it. Like, it's in a planter I have in my backyard, and every year it just grows back into this massive hyssop plant, and it shoots out these purple flowers that are really nice and beautiful. The bees love them.
Sweet.
And they are sweet. Yes. I wish it had flowers on it it just started to flower in the last week. If it had had flower spikes on it when I harvested these tea leaves, we're shooting this video ahead of time. It's not actually August. It's July right now. But yeah, I think that's good for now. Yeah, we're just going to do the same thing. Going to crunch it up. I'm going to check on this tea. Oh yeah, it's looking good. You probably don't want to steep tea for too long. For an herbal tea like this, you might want to do 5 minutes, I would say. You're like a tea expert, Mary Kate, right? You drank tons of tea in high school?
Oh, yeah.
Did you set a timer usually, or?
I went based on feeling.
Feeling, gut feeling. Thank you.
And usually what the package was saying.
And what the package, yes. Try to follow the package.
For sure.
Do you want to taste it? Do you want to taste it? Okay. Mary Kate's going to taste the mint tea.
Oh, that's good.
It's good?
Yeah. I did just eat some of the liquor, so I have that taste in my mouth, but this is really good. Oh, yeah. You definitely should try some of it.
Okay. I will. And I'm going to try this too, but
yeah,
in a little bit.
You can try that one off camera. Take some pictures.
Yeah. Okay, I think this is good. Whew, just inhaled some tea. I don't think it needs to be perfect. I am just going to take this tea that's nice and dry and pulverized up, and I'm going to fill up my little jar with it. And then I'll have a little jar of lemony flavored, anise flavored, licoricey flavored tea for winter. And I'm going to label it probably with a labeler, like a little sticky label, so that I don't forget what it is. I'm going to put it in my little tea cabinet and give extra to friends. So I think I really enjoyed this process, and thank you so much for watching. I'm going to definitely keep doing this and experiment with different herbs and different herb blends in years to come, and maybe even more this season. But that's basically the gist of how you take your dry tea and make tea out of it. And it's a great thing to do to get in nature, to use up your garden to the fullest, and to maybe even reuse containers you might have around your house. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys next month. Bye.